Imagine it's the 1980s, we boot up our PC, insert the floppy disk, and watch as the screen lights up with our AI chat application. In this video, we're going to use Node.js and the OpenAI API to create a simple chat application with a retro feel. This is Coding with Adam, and let's get to the code. For this project, we're going to be using VS Code. I've opened it up in a blank directory called Retro AI Chat. The very first thing we're going to do is initialize our npm project with npm init-y. Then we'll make one modification to our package JSON. We're going to add type module, and this will allow us to use ES6 imports. Next, we can go ahead and install our dependencies. At the terminal, we're going to go ahead and run npm install. We will install OpenAI.env for reading from the env file. Chalk to add some color to our application, and read line sync so it'll be easier to take input from the command line prompt. To double check we installed the packages correctly, we can jump to our package JSON, scroll down to dependencies, and ensure that we have those dependencies installed. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a .env file. The .env file will contain our environmental variables. We're only going to need one environmental variable, and we're going to call it OpenAI API key. And we'll assign that to the API key that we got from OpenAI. If you want to know how to create your API key, check out my previous video that's linked in the description. As always, remember that your API key is private and you should not share it with anyone else. The API key that I put in here is just an example API key. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll create a file called Index.js. We'll start by adding our imports for OpenAI.env, chalk, and readline sync. Then we'll go ahead and we'll call .env.config to read our .env file. Before we proceed further, let's do a quick sanity check. We'll do a console log of hi and run the application. So we're going to run node index.js. As you can see, it's printing out hi. However, we do get this depreciation warning. Now, this is coming from a package that OpenAI is using. So in order to suppress this warning, we can head on over to our package.json. Inside the package.json, at the very bottom, after the dependencies, we're going to add overrides for the what.wg-url library. In the future, this may already be fixed, so if you don't see the depreciation warning, no need to add this. We can then go back to our terminal. We'll have to run npm install, and then we can rerun the application. And this time you'll see that we don't have any depreciation warning. We'll close these windows and jump back to our index.js and remove our console log. Then we'll go ahead and we'll create a variable for OpenAI and set that to a new OpenAI object. We're going to set the API key and we're going to use process.env.OpenAI API key, which matches the environment variable that we set in our .env file. The first thing we're going to do when the application starts is clear the screen. And this isn't required, but looks really cool. We're going to add some Ascii art. And the Ascii art I used was from this website over here. I simply typed in the word, hit test all, scrolled through the options, and selected the one that I thought looked best. Once you've found it, click the select and copy button. We'll go back to our application where we'll add a console.log and we'll use backticks since it's multiple lines. And you'll notice when I paste it in, it doesn't format it quite correctly since I have Prettier installed, but if I do an undo, we can see that it formats it correctly. Let's check that our application is working as expected. We'll go to the terminal and we'll run node index.js, and we can see that it's printing out our AI chat text. As you saw in the demonstration, we're able to send messages back and forth with the AI. To track this, we're going to create an array called messages. This application is going to be running in a loop. The first thing that's going to happen is that a user is going to send a request, then the AI is going to respond, and then we're going to start back at the top of the loop where the user can ask another question. As I mentioned, we need to get input from the user. We're going to capture that input in a variable called user content. We're going to use the read line sync.question, and we're going to ask the user to supply a question. So when we show this on the screen, it's going to show user : and then you can type your question. We're also going to go ahead and style this. We're going to use the chalk module that we imported, and we'll change the text of the user over here to be cyan. Now, most command line applications can be exited by using Control-C on your keyboard. However, let's give an easy way to exit our application. We're going to take the user content and we're just going to lowercase the text. Then we're going to check if that text is equal to exit. And if it is equal to exit, then we're going to go ahead and just exit the application by using a break, which is going to exit the while loop and terminate the application. At the same time too, we can allow the assistant, the AI, to go ahead and just write goodbye. And we'll do that by stylizing the assistant text over here and making it red and displaying the message of goodbye. Next, let's go apply some color to our AI chat text over here. We're simply going to go ahead and use the chalk module, and we're going to set this to the color of yellow, and just make sure to wrap everything that is inside of those backticks with an extra bracket. Now let's go ahead and run our application to test it. We'll run node Index.js, and you can see we get our AI chat text, which is yellow. We have our user text over here, and we can begin typing. I'll write hi and hit enter. It then goes back to the top of the loop and asks the user for more text. We can enter more text and hit enter, and it'll do the same thing again. However, if we type exit, the assistant will say goodbye and the application will terminate. Once we get our response back from the user, we're going to go ahead and create a new object called user message. That object is going to have two pieces of information. One is going to be a role, which is the user, and the second thing will be the content of the message. We'll then add the user message to our messages array. Now we can go ahead and send our user message to OpenAI. What we're going to do is we're going to get back an AI response, and we'll do that by using the OpenAI.chat.completions, and there's a method called create. The create method is going to take in two parameters, the messages and the model that we're using. The model that we're going to be using is GPT-4o. The messages array is going to contain the latest message from the user, plus a history of all previous messages between the user and the AI. This will allow the AI to remember what you've said before and correlate your current question to previous responses. You can also think of the messages array as a type of memory for the AI. Let's go ahead and console log our AI response. We'll then go ahead and run the application. We'll simply say hi, and then we'll get a response back from our AI. As you can see, there's a section called choices, and inside choices, there's a message, and that message contains the response from the AI. We'll go ahead and we'll retrieve that message. We'll create a variable called AI message. We'll get our AI response. We'll access the choices array and get the very first item and get the message. We'll then go ahead and run our application one more time to see that AI message. We'll send a message of hi. We get back a response, and that object contains a role of assistant, and the content of the message is hello, how can I assist you today? Back in our code, we can then take our messages array and push on the AI message. Lastly, we can go ahead and console log our message from the assistant. We'll use chalk.red to stylize the assistant role, and then we'll get the message by using AI message.content. Let's give the application one final test. We'll run the app, and I'm going to ask, what is 5 plus 2? The assistant lets us know that the answer is 7. Now, to make sure that our message history is working correctly, we're going to ask, now add 35. Because of that message history, it knows that it needs to add 35 to 7, giving us 42. We'll let it know that's a great number, and in fact, it is a great number because it's from the book Hitchhiker's Guide. It's the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. If you haven't, check out Hitchhiker's Guide. It's an awesome book. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.